Hey everyone, I'm back with another photo card packing video. Today I have a bunch of different cards, some 17 stuff, some Pentagon stuff, some girl group stuff, as well as showing off you some of the new stationery that I got from Joss here, because Joss here just had a huge spring drop and I kind of went a little nutsy cuckoo when the drop happened because a lot of it was so cute. So I ended up getting like a lot of Hoshi stuff. I got a lot of some Ming House stuff, but that's besides the point. So here's some stuff I have that I listed on Depop, and also I was gonna pack up a trade in this one. Like a little later on, you'll see that I have a Jungwoo card like sitting up at the top, but I was going to try to pack it up for a trade, but then realized that like, oh, I need to take like packing proofs, and that's just going to be like a little bit too much of a headache to try to like not disclose enough information, but also try to pack it, and then also it'd be unsatisfying for you guys to watch. So I ultimately just like decided against packing it on screen. But all the other stuff is Depop orders. Some of this stuff, well, actually most of this stuff was purchased and acquired by friends and acquaintances, and then they have like one person who is a stranger who bought some stuff off of me. So because most of these are for friends who have gotten my very extravagant K-pop card package stuff in the mail prior, and they have probably gotten every single one of my wizard hat freebies before. These ones are just like some really simple photo card packing stuff that like I didn't go too overboard with. I didn't go too over the top with. And then also I realized just how many cards I am packing in this video. And with my previous Depop video, I packaged up 3 orders and the video was only almost like 40 minutes long. So I tried to be a little bit more realistic about, you know, timing with this one, but also it did benefit from like most of these going to friends who don't need to see everything. And unfortunately, I was trying to I was listing stuff because I just want to get rid of it. And then also I didn't really want to wait for new freebies to come in the mail because I think I'm going to bother trying to get like really nice ones done. So I'm like completely out of all of my Pentagon freebies. And I the CVS printing method for freebies works. It is completely a viable option and it's easily accessible, and I can bing bang boom get it done in like not even an hour to get it done. But I do want to have like nicer looking, a little bit more professional looking photos done. And like I mentioned in my previous Depop video, I was thinking, I really like getting the die cut wallet prints from National Photo Printers or whatever it was. I think I left the link in the bottom of my previous Depop video. Those are really nice, but I really want to have like the nice photo card feeling freebies, like, you know, like a business card and like on nice printed cardstock and everything. And to know that people aren't just gonna be like throwing the freebies away because like I actually got them printed fairly nicely. But that is going to be a project for another day, and especially I'm going to try to get them done in anticipation of 17's comeback. But, you know, timing, and then also those are more expensive than just getting the CVS prints done. But, like, honestly, every single time I go to CVS to get the wallet size prints done, if I print out 30-ish pages of stuff, it's still going to cost me, like, $30 versus spending a couple more dollars. You know, it's going to end up being like $50 or $60 to get 100 photo cards printed of various images done. But that is like an extra cost. There's going to be ultimately more of the cards themselves, because every single time I get like a wallet size printout, it's only 4 per 4x6, and then like the math works out, yada yada yada. I want to get them more nicely done. That was just me rambling on about thinking about freebies. But the point of that is that I'm doing a bunch of these packages for friends who have gotten like every single one of my wizard hat freebies before. So they don't need them anymore. So I don't feel the need to like freak out and like go over the top with these. Anyway, so whatever. This one is going to my friend who was the friend who helped me finish up my semicolon collection. And they gave me their Sungkwan card that I needed. That was the very last one that I needed, as well as a couple like Joshua Carrotland trading cards. So this one was listed, this Mingyu card was listed on Depop, and then they just sent me a thing being like, hello, I would like this one. And I was like, yes, like as payment for all the cards you gave me for free, you can have this Mingyu and Ode card. So the Mingyu and Ode card, I realized, was a duplicate. If you have watched my videos in the past, I have mentioned several times over that I am a notorious duplicate buyer. This is the product of a number of things, most of which are I am a very unorganized, forgetful, messy person. I have the object permanence of a baby. You know those videos of like Taemin like at a concert and he just like drops an object and like just it completely just wipes from his memory and he has no recollection of ever having held the object before? That is fully me with like every aspect of my life. If I don't see it physically all the time, I will forget that it exists. So that is the issue with my cards. Okay, so here we have, before I get into that rant a little bit more, we have some Shinwon Black Hole cards, a Joshua Boys B card, and a Joshua Lenticular trading card. These ones are from, I always mention Isabel from Paybell. She gets all the shit that I either don't want, accidentally purchased, or I buy them for her as a present. So ultimately, like, we collect together and, like, we really work on our collections together. So that's why she constantly gets mentioned in my videos. What I was getting back to, the point I was saying about duplicates, object permanence of a baby, right? So a lot of the times I end up buying duplicates of stuff, and I just never realize it. Or I realize it more often for my biases, even though it happens very frequently for my biases. Like, there is a Joshua You Made My Day card that I think I've purchased, like, 4 fucking times. And I finally, now that the collection is complete, I never have to accidentally purchase that fucking Joshua You Made My Day card ever again. 4 times I bought that card. And there's a card that I mentioned in my Mercari haul that I've also purchased 4 times, and it's that he's in that yellow polo shirt and he's throwing up a peace sign. It's a Hengare fan sign pre-order benefit card. I've purchased that 4 times. So even when it comes to my biases, I realize that I buy duplicates of this shit all the time. But it's worse when it comes to parts of my collection that I'm not keeping as a close eye on or as a better track of those cards. So whenever because previously all of my cards were, how were they organized? They were listed, they were organized in chronological order by album. And then eventually I just stopped shuffling them around and just shoving them in 9 pockets, like all willy-nilly without like any proper track of where I was putting them. So I didn't realize I had 2 of those Mingyu Ode cards, and there was a couple Minghao cards I realized I had duplicates of that I just purchased twice over. But also there was that problem of like, there's a card that you love to look at. Even if you already have it, it's almost like you want the rush of buying it again because you love that card so much. So that's also been an issue with like some Joshua cards as well as like the Minghao cards. But that's also the issue with having so many cards for one boy group, is that you kind of lose track of what's official, what's not official, what goes with an album, what doesn't go with an album, what is a trading card, what is an HMV card, and it all just becomes a jumbled mess in your head and you kind of forget. And that is especially the case with 17 cards. I don't have that experience as much with Pentagon cards because there's so much less of those cards, except in recent fucking history with how many cards they're doing now. I think Cube finally realized that the way to up sales and the way to get people to buy more albums and to get more involved in like the inclusion stuff and the collecting mindset is to put out more versions of an album. If you've never realized this before, I don't know where you've been in your K-pop fandom journey, but the reason why companies put out so many versions of an album is not because it looks nice, not because it aesthetically looks better, it's because it makes people buy more albums and ultimately in turn ups those album sales. And that is why that there are photocard inclusions and these limited edition items in cards that become collector's items because it helps sell more albums. We are all complicit in the capitalist machine that is the K-pop industry, and we are complicit in it by collecting these things. That doesn't mean it's not fun, but as long as like you realize like that's where these things are coming from, yada yada yada. So Cube for a really, really, really long time had one version per album for Pentagon. Up until Black Hole, it was one version per album, and every single album had like 2 versions of a photocard per boy, and there was like 2 other larger inclusions per boy. Five Senses is a completely different story. Five Senses has an insane number of cards, and like I mentioned in my Mercari haul video, that no one really knows how many cards for Five Senses are really out there because no one has really made a template for them. I'm sure at one point the knowledge was there when Five Senses was the most recent Pentagon album, but I feel like that knowledge has kind of been lost and was never really recorded properly by a uni who is like keeping track of these things. Whatever. So up until very recently, Pentagon had a reasonable number of photocards. That is no longer the fucking case. Black Hole, I feel like they kind of like tried to, you know, get the lay of the land on that one. I think they did 2 cards per version of the album and then 1 pre-order card per version of the album. So total, every single boy had a total of 6 cards, including the pre-order benefits. Then with Weath, it was, I think, 4 cards per boy, plus 2 versions of the bookmark, plus a sticker, and then plus the CD cover versions of that. And then don't even get me started on the amount of pre-order benefits and fan sign benefit cards, which is, I think, I may be wrong, but I think the amount of pre-order benefit cards and the amount of fan sign cards is completely different now. I feel like there wasn't as many as we have now, like starting last summer, really, and that might be a pandemic-related business decision to get people to buy more albums from very specific music stores that were doing fan sign calls with boys. So we've had 4 and then like a bunch of different pre-order cards. And then for Love and Take, every single boy had, I think there were 6 cards total for the album versions. And then Love or Take also had 3 different versions and singular cover options for every single boy. So in total, that is 24 album covers, 24 different versions total for the album, which is a really smart business move. And I'm glad that Cube realized that that's how you make more sales. So that's how you make more sales. And now, what was I going on about? Lost my train of thought. Oh yeah. Cube has now realized like that is how you make money, which is great for Pentagon and great for Cube, but is absolute insanity for collectors. Like previously, other Pentagon items that were really hard to find and like kind of the reach items for Pentagon fans, at least like the ones that I talk to and the ones that I'm close friends with that were all collectors, that it was kind of the broadcast cards that were the hot commodity, like rare item to get. And now it feels like, I feel like there was also the response to the lack of broadcast cards because there have been no broadcasts for people to attend because of the pandemic, that now the response to broadcast cards, even though broadcast cards, I may be speaking out of my ass here a little bit. I think you do have to pay in order to get into a broadcast, but there's a very specific set of things that you need in order to get into a broadcast for your group. Like you need a light stick, and you need an official like banner, and then also to be able, and then purchase the ticket on top of that. So that was another way to make money, but I don't know if that went directly to the company in some way, shape, or form or not to ultimately pay the boys. But I kind of feel like now having the pre-order benefit cards and the fan sign cards, that's kind of the response to the lack of broadcast cards, and also makes these cards a little bit more accessible, and also still, again, upping sales. And I think it was really, really smart of both the companies, and also it was really smart of the companies, and it was really smart for the, music stores to also do these things, because, fan calls have kind of shifted the landscape of what it means to be a K-pop fan, and suddenly things that were only accessible to Korean fans, or at least fans who lived in Asia who could very easily get to Korea in order to attend fan signs. It has completely shifted the landscape of what it means to be a K-pop fan. And I think that companies would be stupid not to continue doing fan calls now that they know that it really increases sales, and also it kind of bridges that gap between Korean and Asian fans and with the rest of the global fan base. I think that it would be stupid to get rid of that, because I know I started getting a little bit concerned with that, because 17 is having their first in-person fan sign in a year and a half, and it's the first time that Scoops is seeing Carrot since I think November 2019. Seeing that they're going to have a physical fan sign again, and I'm wondering, does this mean the end of fan calls? Is there going to be less fan calls in response to the amount of, in-person fans that there's going to be? Is it going to be too demanding for a group to be doing the actual physical fan signs as well as fan calls as well? Will people get the same amount of time as they were getting with fan calls when fan signs are introduced? So it's going to be very interesting to see the landscape of what comeback season is going to look like now. To quickly pause my sudden tangent on that, my friend Jam loves Hoshi. Hoshi is one of their ults, and so they bought my Hoshi Director's Cut lenticular off of me. So I took that as the opportunity to make it all Hoshi themed on the inside, and then I can't remember if I've sent them a photocard thing before from just me, just like a photocard, and not just an album or something. So I'm trying to make the outside of the card look like how I typically design the outside of my photocard packaging, my full on wizard and magic and spooky ooky and magic themed exterior stuff, and then open it up and have it all be Hoshi stuff. So that'll be really cool. Oh, and speaking of fun ooky spooky babadooky designs, I am so ready for Halloween to come around. I know we're still several months off from Halloween, but when Halloween happened last year, I had purchased a bunch of Halloween scrapbooking goods from Michael's, and some Halloween themed greeting cards and stuff from Target. And it was when I was very first putting out and starting to sell my photo cards, which of course it took me forever to get around to doing that, but it was I started my sales started picking up steam as Halloween was ending, as we were getting into Thanksgiving. And I know that I think that Halloween is a 4-month-long holiday, and that is a very Rhea specific issue. Halloween starts for me at the very end of August, the last 2 weeks of August, and it goes through until Thanksgiving for me. That I consider all of that Halloween. So I don't really know if people wanted to see Halloween stuff when it wasn't appropriate. So I had purchased the stationery stuff towards the end of the month, and my sales didn't start really picking up until November. So I have so much Halloween stationery that it feels weird to use it not during Halloween. And I have a couple of the scrapbooking papers that say things like poison, arsenic, fortune telling, weird medieval, not medieval, Victorian snake oil posters and stuff. I do not think that will resonate very well with a post, a card to sell stuff, let alone mailing a card that says poison on it, I don't know how many K-pop stans you collect remember the whole Anthrax letter issue from back in the day, like late 90s, early 2000s. I think that demographic is completely gone, mostly from the main people who collect photocard stuff. So I don't really feel like it's a good idea to put a fun little card that says poison in the mail. So I have so many of these little papers that I'm like waiting for it to be Halloween to finally use up. Whatever. So this one I'm packaging up a weekly card. I'm admittedly not a daily. I listen to a couple of their songs and I think they're really talented and they're a great group, but I'm just not the kind of person who gets invested in younger rookie groups, I guess. And also the way that I interact with the groups that I care about and the language in which I use to talk about them, is typically, I don't want to say like more adult oriented because that makes it seem like I'm talking about like NSFW stuff like all the time, but I talk about them in a very much like they're of equal age to me kind of way. And a lot of the younger girl groups are obviously not that. And a lot of the younger boy groups aren't that for me. So I don't necessarily have that kind of instinct to talk about fan stuff and like oh, this person's my son, this person's my daughter. I just don't have that instinct, and that's like not my first inclination at all. Though the one exception to that is Ivan from Kingdom. Kingdom is a rookie boy group that has a sword and like royal theme to their stuff, and like all of their stage names are famous royals from history. Ivan from Kingdom is like my actual son. Like that is my boy. I've raised him from birth, whatever. But again, like that's very much an outlier to my fan experience. And while I enjoy Weekly's music, I'm not invested in them enough to keep, inclusions in my collection. I don't need those. I like having the albums. The albums are nice. And because Isabel from Paybell runs group orders for Weekly, this is, I think, their second. I think this is her second group order. These ones are not from the second group order. She's currently working on another group order from their most recent album. But I like to support friends' group orders when I can, and I know that I can I can spare the like $30 this will ultimately end up costing me to help my friend get into a thing that they care about. So I don't mind buying albums for groups I don't particularly care about as long as I'm helping a friend. That being said, I am getting rid of the very small Weekly collection that I had because I just don't need it, and I'm not into Weekly the way that I am with the other groups that I collect. I'm thinking more now about collecting girl groups more seriously, but like my old girl group is Red Velvet, and it's really sad to say, but I think Red Velvet is on their way out if SM doesn't get their act together. I have lots of thoughts on the status of Red Velvet and the mistreatment that they face at the hands of Lee Soo-man. But it just feels really difficult to collect their cards. I feel like I don't really know a ton about what it's like to collect Red Velvet, and I may be speaking out of my ass here, but it feels like it's kind of hard to do so. Like, I tried to get my hands on a couple albums that are now out of print, and I had no clue that they were out of print because whenever I went to my K-pop store from before the pandemic, Red Velvet albums were always there, and it was always like a fail-safe, like they are always going to be there, and that's not going to be an issue, and I don't have to worry about it. Now I actually have to worry about it. But I think at this point, my Red Velvet album collection I have everything from let me double check real quick. Whatever album that, I'm blanking right now. Whatever album that Red Flavor is on, I have that album forward. And at least one version of every single one of those albums, because I don't feel the need to own every single version for the Repa Festival album cycle series. I don't need that. But the older albums, like anything from before before when red flavor, trying to say the sentence while you're talking after talking for like 25 minutes straight is kind of hard to say. But anything that's from before then, I don't have. And I can only imagine how hard it's going to be to get my hands on them, because Red Velvet has so many fans and they're such an important girl group to the industry that I feel like they're going to be harder to get my hands on than like getting all of the old 17 albums that I had to get secondhand that are out of print now. So I don't know if I really want to collect Red Velvet. Like, a lot of my natural pulls for my Red Velvet album collection have been Sulgi. Sulgi is my old girl group girl. She's been there. I've been with her for nearly almost 4 years now. Back when my K-popping was, I only liked BTS and I only liked Red Velvet. So she has been there for like nearly 4 years now. But like I said, like a lot of my pulls from the albums that I purchased new have been for her. So like I don't feel that my collection needs to be traded out that much. And like my second favorite member is Irene, and I also have like all of the stuff from Monster, so I don't feel the need to, go overboard with collecting her. And like I said, I think it's going to be more difficult, but I would like to start collecting more girl group stuff. But the only other group that I like and interact with the fandom and how I think about them and how I like to curate my fan experience more than just like listening to the music and watching the music videos, and like I actually care about their personalities and like what stuff they're doing outside of their actual music careers, and like the actual like cult of personality that they curate is Duque. And like I said in my Mercari video, I still don't have a proper Duque bias. Like I'm pretty sure that it's Dami because she's the one I go the most nuts over, but I like everyone else so much that it feels hard to try to prioritize collecting. So maybe my collecting methodology for Duque will be like whatever cards I really, really, really like. And also getting their out of print albums is like so stressful to think about, because like I mentioned in my Mercari video, I don't think that their company realizes how many fans they have and that they could probably produce more to meet the demand of fans of Duque. And I feel like there's starting to be more and more fans recently. I think they'd really benefit from reprinting the old albums, because some of the old albums are like $100 easily $100 to get your hands on the out of print albums, because the people who love Duque love them so much. And I feel like it's almost similar situation to like 80s. 80s is a newer group, of course, than Duque, but like the fans who love 80s really, really, really fucking love 80s. And I'm hoping that maybe like for them, after Kingdom is all done, that they're gonna have an opportunity to reprint old albums. But like I really wish that Duque's company would reprint the old albums. I wish any company would reprint old albums. I think it would really benefit like them in the long run. And really kind of show that they give a shit about their groups and actually want their groups to keep making money. But I don't know enough about like the music industry side of things to really kind of make sweeping statements like that. But that's just from like my own interpretation of what the situation is. But like I said, and then also like Duque's photocard templates scare the shit out of me. I feel like doing it for 17 once and then completing it should have made it more apparent to me that like it is possible to get a full collection for a group that has a ton of photo cards. And like, but knowing that it took me so long to do Joshua, but in the grand scheme, like how I feel like I speed ran collecting Joshua. It took me less than a year, like a little less than a year to fully commit to collecting Joshua and then acquire all of Joshua. And I think that's just a matter of I'm a person with very little patience. I want the thing now. I do not want it later, and I don't want to wait to have the full thing. So I really just like chugged along and speed ran collecting Joshua. But I think that was also fueled by the fervor of my love for 17. And like similarly with Pentagon, I was able to get almost all of Shinwon in less than a year when I first started seriously collecting Pentagon. I started seriously collecting Pentagon February 2020 when I was there in Seoul for Black Hall promotions, and like ended up getting a full set of everyone in fan sign attempt purchases. So once that happened, I started really seriously collecting Pentagon. But again, that between February 2020 and now, and Hamill's having a full Shinwon collection, like that's still a pretty fast amount of time to build a collection in about a year, with how hard it is to find older Pentagon cards versus how hard it is to find older 17 cards. But again, that is like fueled by how much I love these groups, and I love Duque a whole lot. I really do, but I don't think it's to the same extent that I feel for like Pentagon and 17. And at least with like NCT, like I love NCT. We know that I love NCT, but I know for a fact that I want just a Johnny collection. For the other ones, I'm not like, oh, I also want a Yuto collection. I also want, you know, I'm trying to decide if I want a Minghao, Sakmin, Hoshi, or Wanu collection. NCT, I'm like, I know that I want Johnny. I know that I want just a Johnny set. And whoever I pull, I happen to pull. But if it's not one of like the second tier boys, like I'm fine keeping those. But if it's not Johnny, I don't necessarily feel the need to keep them. But with Duque, I'm like, am I ready to commit that much of my time and effort to collecting it the way that I collect some of my other groups? And like the Red Velvet one, I would be that way too about, but I feel like it's just I know the difficulty regarding that, and there's only so much energy I can expend doing collecting at the way that I was doing it for 17 and the way I'm doing it for Shinwon, you know. So it's all whatever. But so this card is a little bit more over the top because this is for a stranger. I don't know this person, so I tried to put a little bit more effort in there. And the person is very clearly a Shinwon stan, so I am unfortunately like out of most of, like I said, I'm out of like my freebies and everything, and especially out of like all my Pentagon freebies. I mostly have 17 ones left, but seeing that this person bought only Shinwon stuff, I'm like, you clearly want Shinwon. I don't have that right now. So I tried to instead do like a washi tape sample of a Shinwon tape that I got from a Season's Greetings for a fan site a couple years ago, which feels weird to say, like now that I've like Pentagon and ulted them. It's now officially a couple years ago that I've acquired some of these things. And then this was the tape that came in with the third uni fan kit that I know that I'm not going to have a ton. I'm not going to have a ton of use for, enough to justify using that entire roll. So I don't mind giving like a sample or two away to people. So I hope that this person, whoever gets it, does see that I wanted to get them something. I just didn't have like photo cards and stuff with me to like the fan made photo cards, like not real ones, the fake freebie ones. Sees I wanted to give them enough effort to do that, and I think I'm considering closing down my shop just for like a little bit in order to like give me wait time to get more freebies back in stock. And then also I'm actually gonna be traveling soon. I'm visiting Izzy in California soon, so I'm going to be gone for a little bit because I'm fully vaccinated. So I don't feel that bad traveling. But anyway, I'm going to be like out of town for a bit. So if anyone orders during that time, I'm like, I can't get this shit to you for a little bit. So yeah, I forgot to mention that I started I got these really cute moon stickers from my most recent like stationery purchase that I did, and I like giving a little bit of those stickers away now. So that's like kind of nice. So yeah, there you can see that Jung-woo that I was going, like I am trading that one out, but I figured that since I have to send packing proofs and I do like my packaging to be like a little bit more of a surprise than just like the packaging proof that I send to a trader, the person I'm trading with, that it was just easier for me to do off camera. I thought I was going to do it on camera, and I decided to do it off camera because it wouldn't be as satisfying for you guys to watch me do almost nothing to a card to pack it up, because I needed to send proofs over. So yeah, I've officially joined the world of NCT trading, like I mentioned with how I'm collecting specifically Johnny. I finally made the move to Twitter, finally made the move to Instagram to start trading some of my stuff out. So far, I've seen some success. I'm going to be getting a Johnny Resonance Arrival card in the mail. I'm trading out my Geno one, and then that is a Jungwoo Regulate PC, and I'm getting the Johnny Regulate PC in return. So I'm excited to be kind of entering this world. It's a lot more effort, and it requires a lot more patience. Patience is a virtue, and I'm trying to learn that in photocard trading and collecting. But I want this stuff now. I want it gone, and I want Johnny's in my hand. But I realize that you just have to wait for the right person to come along. And you also be searching on your end. But I get very overwhelmed by the amount of hashtags that people use on Instagram. I get very overwhelmed seeing the amount of options that there are. And I kind of just like am waiting for someone just to come to me with the thing that they have that I will happily give them a Haechan, because I have a couple Haechan things I'm trying to get rid of for Johnny's, and I'm trying to get rid of a couple more Jungwoo things. All of my like Taeil and Yuta, and I have one singular Jaehyun card. I'm keeping those for myself because, like, for me, NCT is like Johnny, and then my other ones are like I have a couple 10 cards I'm not getting rid of because I love 10. I have a couple Mark Lee cards I'm not getting rid of because I still love Mark Lee. But my other ones for NCT are like Yuta and Yuta Taeil and Taeyong. But anyway, I'm almost done here. Thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video and enjoyed me just rambling, I guess, for 40 minutes. I was not scripted this time, but I hope you enjoyed it. Bye, guys.